Hi, this is Rebecca from BrainBox AI. We are back with another podcast, this time in Minneapolis at the offices of Trane, where we will be talking about Trane Autonomous Control powered by BrainBox AI. It's a new innovation that is empowering building stakeholders to reduce their energy consumption and emissions, therefore helping them save the planet. And I'm joined by Marcus and Omar, where we will learn more and hopefully get a glimpse into what they're doing with this new technology. Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. We're super excited today to talk about the collaboration between Trane and BrainBox. To get us started, could you just introduce yourselves to our listeners?
Sure, thanks. Thanks, Rebecca. My name is Marcus Ellson. I am the product manager for Trane Autonomous Control here at Trane.
Thank you.
All right, and I'm happy to be with you, Marcus and Rebecca. My name is Omar Tabba. I'm the Chief Product Officer at BrainBox AI. Nice to be with you.
Nice. Thanks for being here to both of you. I thought we could start the podcast with a bit of an icebreaker question and go down memory lane and ask you both, when is the first time you ever learned about the other person's organization? Omar, this was probably a while ago. What's the first time you learned about Trane, thought about Trane? What were your first impressions? And Marcus, same to you, but with BrainBox. Maybe we can go with Omar first. This probably happened a while ago.
Yeah. You're maybe, like you said, taking us down a trip down memory lane, as they say. So I just have vivid memories of it. For sure, it had to be the first few weeks on the job as a young technical support engineer at This Tech Controls, where I started my career. And you quickly learn, you're controlling HVAC equipment, who's the biggest name in the space. It's Trane. Did you know that this is a Trane chiller, a Trane rooftop? So the Trane brand and the Trane, let's say, stamp of quality was quickly imprinted in my young mind as something to remember. So
this was like 5 years ago?
Yeah, as you can see, I have a little bit of platinum blonde here on the side. This would have been, let's say, circa 2003.
Amazing.
So 20 years ago, 21 years ago.
Cool. Marcus?
Yeah, great. Well, it wasn't quite then that I had heard of BrainBox, but not long after. It started in the technical support group, not far from where we're sitting now. So that's a fun tie to learn about love tech support. But it was after that, in fact, probably late in 2022, that I think I started to really hear about BrainBox AI. I knew Trane had been having some conversations and exploring the space, and then it was a little bit before that ASHRAE show in early 2023 that I remember digging in a little deeper, talking to some other folks in the company that had been working with BrainBox. So it was great. It was fun learning more about it, and great being here again.
So a long history, a shorter history.
That's right.
Hopefully we're building a new history together. And maybe just to get us going with a bit of context, Omar, there's some of our listeners might be their first time hearing about BrainBox. You just describe who we are, what our mission is, what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. So BrainBox is the global leader in autonomous decarbonization and optimization of buildings. We really sit at the intersection of three, let's say, trends and technologies that we bring to bear to solve this problem. So AI. So we have deep expertise in artificial intelligence, HVAC, so mechanical systems and heating and cooling in buildings, and then decarbonization and optimization. How do you use these technologies together in a way that reduces the emissions of the building, reduces the utility costs of the building? That's what we do in right now, I think, over 17 countries, and roughly north of 13,000 buildings.
It's been a quick adventure, right? We've been doing this for about 5 years. Maybe for our more technical crowd, could you tell us a bit more about the solution architecture and what makes us able to connect to buildings in many ways?
Yeah, sure. So, as the audience probably knows, Marcus, I know you know this inside and out. We have a building, there's an HVAC system. So let's say a chiller, a boiler, or maybe a rooftop unit or some sort of packaged equipment that's doing the heating and cooling. This equipment is now, at the moment, if the building is comfortable, it's being controlled somehow. So the first way in which we connect is we can install one of our gateways and just take the data from that control system and push it up into our cloud in a way that enables us to read and write to that system. We also have some other ways in which we integrate, like using some software drivers and so on. And the critical point here is that we need to be able to read and write to the building in near real time. So almost, within seconds of something occurring. And what we do is we normalize this data in the cloud, and we train an AI model on how this building behaves. So we are asking the AI essentially, can you predict the future state of zone 1, zone 2, let's say this conference room that's in the building. So the AI needs some other data in order to do that prediction. So we add the weather data coming from the closest weather station to the building. And the training period allows the AI then to say, well, if this is the weather forecast tomorrow, then the temperature is going to be, let's say, 75 degrees in zone 1, 76 in zone 2, and so on. This prediction can get quite accurate. So we're able to predict space temperature about 95% accurate and higher, 2 hours in advance. And that enables us, that degree of accuracy enables us to control. So we're able then to say, okay, well, if I know that, let's say this conference room is going to be at 76 degrees in 2 hours, and I know that my set point is 72, well, I don't want to go to 76 and come back down. That represents
what a waste,
energy that's being spent, to your point. And so what can I do now? What commands can we send now, knowing what's coming, to minimize the energy consumption and also keep the space comfortable, right? The going to 76 and back is a discomfort for the occupant. So that's
and weather predictions are just one of the external data points that we will go and gather, right?
Absolutely. So we add grid emissions factors, we add utility tariff rates and structures, occupancy patterns and data. So this is all critical to optimizing how this building can behave and informing the AI's decisions on what to do when. And a key differentiator, I would say, for us in the market is that we're able to send these commands back down to the unique pieces of equipment as needed. So, for example, we can make the VAV box in this conference room open to let in more air, whereas we can keep the other zones as is at their minimum position. And we do this granularly, 24/7, 365 without a human in the loop. And it's this kind of degree of granularity that adds up to quite a big impact on the building's efficiency.
Awesome. Thank you, Omar. And now, Marcus, maybe for our audience who are not so familiar with Trane, if you could just give us a high-level description of who Trane is and what your areas of focus are.
Yeah, certainly. So Trane as a brand, been around a while, a global leader in HVAC equipment, controls, service across the board, and our focus areas are in energy efficiency for our customers, sustainability, decarbonization, and maybe more generically, customer-centric solutions. A lot of times what that means is we are innovating for our customers' particular needs or as the needs of the markets change. And it's exciting to be part of one of those examples now with Trane Autonomous Control, powered by BrainBox AI, of course. And some other recent solutions that are really exciting are the storage source heat pump system, where Trane's able to combine some newer technologies to take what would ordinarily be waste heat in a building and turn that into actually a heating source and to get some really, really cool things, cool benefits for the customer, efficient systems. And so that's really true to our core, is expanding the set of solutions we can give our customers with combining parts and pieces and making complicated systems a little more simple.
Amazing. And how did BrainBox and our technology fit into Trane's story or growth strategy?
Yeah, I think there's sort of two aspects of our growth strategy that were a really good fit. I think first and foremost, our approach to building control level of sort of the controls ecosystem has always been a high performance system that most notably actually gets implemented and can stay implemented. It can stay high performance. And so I think too often we see in our industry, there's a great idea on paper of how the building should run. And maybe it does run that way on day one. but maybe just on day one.
Yeah.
Or maybe it doesn't even get implemented to that high performance that it's designed for. So we've always put a focus on a system that's easy to implement, so it actually gets implemented, easy to maintain, or easy to trust by the people running the building, and so that they don't tinker with it so much that we're way out of the design. And BrainBox AI is a great fit for that too. It just, the way that it comes together with an existing system is in just such a sustainable way. Sustainable in this context, meaning from the purpose of the building and it staying there and constantly optimizing the system. So I'd say that's one dimension that just fits perfectly with our growth strategy. The other is in our approach of working with our customers on a full portfolio of solutions for their needs.
Yeah.
If they're looking to improve the performance of their building, they may need to replace aging equipment. We can help them with that. They may need to implement some new sequences in their controls. We can help them with that. They may need to do some lighting replacement or building envelope. We can help them with that. Not through our own products necessarily, but our own expertise can help them prioritize those options. And now with BrainBox AI and Trane Autonomous Control, another just amazing tool in the toolbox where we can bring comprehensive solutions to customers. So it just perfectly fits those two aspects of strategy.
Makes sense, yeah. And excuse me, as a sustainability advocate myself, I researched Trane and I heard about this Gigaton challenge. Can you tell us a bit about that? I feel like BrainBox fits into that story.
Certainly.
But it's ambitious and I think it's really
it's fun and it's really a commitment to the goals of the enterprise Trane technologies. So the Gigaton challenge is our commitment to reduce carbon emissions in our customers' buildings by 1 gigaton by 2030.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot. And about the equivalent to the carbon footprint of France in a year.
Oh my!
Is the rule of thumb on contextualizing a gigaton.
I feel like we should say that every time instead of gigaton. Like gigaton
That's right.
doesn't mean much in our minds, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. And so it's ambitious, but it's what matters for decarbonization to get that real true impact. And so that's our driving force when we are innovating these new solutions for customers, or if we're building more efficient equipment or systems, to have that end result in our customers' buildings, and then measuring that and tracking that in our annual reports. So you can go see how we're doing on the Gigaton Challenge.
Yeah.
It's an exciting
accountability and
absolutely right.
reporting. So now we know more about BrainBox, know more about Trane. You guys have come together with Trane Autonomous Control powered by BrainBox AI. What is it? Why is it unique? Why is it special? Love to hear from you.
There's a lot to talk about. Maybe we can tag team it?
Sure.
So I'll take a crack at why we find this to be really appealing and at a unique moment in time, per Marcus's comments about sustainability and decarbonization and the role that Trane plays in the market, right, from an equipment and controls perspective. So Trane, obviously very famous for your equipment and controls, but what people might also find impressive is their digital infrastructure, right? So they have a significant, I'm speaking a little bit, stealing your thunder, significant cloud infrastructure that enables us to do something unique. So I described earlier how when BrainBox, let's say, on any other building, not a Trane building, would go and install a gateway, right? And we'd have to connect the existing BMS or building automation system to the cloud. In the Trane context, Trane has already done all that work. So Trane has the ability to connect directly from the site, its control system and equipment on site, to its cloud. So this obviously has a massive appeal for someone like BrainBox, because what we've done is we said, okay, how can we now leverage that together? So we built a cloud-to-cloud API. So we built basically a data pipeline, a two-way data pipeline that allows us to read the data coming from a building up to the Trane cloud and then over to the BrainBox cloud.
Okay.
The AI then learns, as we discussed earlier, and sends the optimization commands back to the Trane cloud and down to get executed on site. And so here, nobody has to go on site. Nobody has to install anything. And so maybe we can talk about some of the work that we've done together and some of the outcomes, because it's quite exciting to think that you can improve a building's energy efficiency without turning a screw in the building. Right?
Yeah, that's perfect. And I'll say from Trane's perspective, it's been great, having BrainBox AI on the team as they're bringing to the table their expertise and experience in real buildings and the evolution of the AI algorithms and the methods of controlling a building, and some of the things that we've established plug right in very nicely. And I think that lowering that barrier to entry for our customers is just so crucial to something actually happening in their building. If it's going to be too onerous to do a deep audit of the site, change out mechanical or add building infrastructure, those are just barriers. And it's fun being part of something where the barrier to entry can be so low.
Yeah. Omar, you mentioned moment in time. Why is this the best moment in time for this relationship?
It's essentially a confluence of multiple trends that are peaking kind of at the same time, right? So you have this intense societal imperative to reduce our emissions and improve our energy efficiency for both environmental reasons, decarbonization reasons, so climate change purpose, as well as economic reasons and cost-related reasons. The other trend is this emergence of AI as a viable technology in the market that can be deployed to enable these use cases that, while everyone, let's say 20 years ago, agreed that, yeah, I want to reduce my building's cost too, but I don't have engineers to throw at this building and that. It's just not scalable.
The solution wasn't as obvious as it is today.
The cost to implement it was too high.
Yeah.
There are, I think, something like 6 million commercial buildings in the United States alone. We don't have 6 million engineers to throw it. So you need some sort of a cloud/scalable data-driven technology that can think and act on its own, right? And be able to make these decisions in near real time, like we said earlier, to keep these buildings in their, let's say, commission state and optimal state.
Mm-hmm.
And so that moment in time is happening right now. So it's the first time we've had cloud technology and storage and compute that is scalable and affordable. It's the first time that we've had, I would say, relatively democratized AI talent that's available.
Yeah.
And obviously the awareness that comes with climate change and decarbonization in society.
We're lucky. It's a perfect moment, and it makes sense. Omar, for you more specifically, what do you think the potential impact of this collaboration would have on BrainBox's ability to scale? I know we have as a mission to scale our technology as fast as possible because we believe it'll be critical in saving the planet. How is Trane helping us with that scaling element?
Oh, how much time you got, right? Like this is, we just, we were, let's say, founded in 2017. So we're in our 7th year of our journey at BrainBox. Trane has over 100 years of experience in mechanical equipment and control systems and many other things in the built environment. So specifically, how are we collaborating? So learning from Trane the best practices about operating equipment and the efficiencies of equipment. Learning from them the best practices about control systems and how they're set up and designed and commissioned. How do you service equipment and buildings, both from a technical or mechanical perspective as well as from a commercial perspective. Right, so all of these things help us inform our own roadmaps. And then I think also when we talk about scale, Trane has a whole other order of magnitude, maybe yes. 2 orders of magnitude higher scale than we do. So that's also something for us to be humble about and to learn from Trane is that, how do you take it from, let's say, 13,000 buildings to 1 million buildings? Right? What does it take to get there?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll just add maybe a little from the Trane perspective. It's been great, collaborating and, in some cases, explaining these concepts that, with someone with half a career at Trane sort of has core that sometimes we take for granted or we take as assumptions. But then again, sort of learning from BrainBox's perspective in the sites that they've seen, or in some cases from a perspective of coming in without preconceived notions that we might have with our history and existing building stock and approaches. So yeah, it's just a great mix.
I'm gonna go slightly off script, but I just wanna ask about like product readiness. Trane Autonomous Controls powered by BrainBox AI. Is it ready? Has it been implemented? Have we tried and tested it? What point are we at in that?
Yeah, I'll just reiterate what we're telling our own Trane account managers, which is yes, it's absolutely ready. Bring your customer conversations to us, and we'll take on every customer and their specific needs.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone would say it's the best solution for every customer in where they're at in terms of their operational budget or their capital expenditure budget or their goals in the end. But it certainly fits a huge swath of customers out there. I mean, which customer doesn't want to pay less on their utility bills, for example? And so we're refining our message internally to account managers to give them a little more direction on what are the best fit.
Yeah.
But absolutely, we'd say ready to go.
Yeah, so building off of what Marcus was saying, we've hit the ground running, and we already have, let's say, 180 or so buildings that are already being optimized via the Trane Autonomous Control offering. And so the interesting thing here, again, is that these are buildings that belong to a sort of blood testing and plasma services company that has these buildings distributed across a very wide geography, I think 35 states across the United States. And so the ability for Trane to offer this optimization to these disparate locations without dispatching anyone to site, right? And producing very meaningful reductions in the carbon emissions of the buildings is quite something. So maybe you can comment on that process or that customer.
Yeah, without question, it's when I look at that, approach from, if I put my customer hat on for a second, and they're looking at their opportunities, where are they going to spend discretionary, capital or operational expense, and to get the benefits they want. Most other options are going to be longer payback, or they're going to be, start a project and in 6 months we'll have, equipment replaced on a couple of locations, versus much faster uptime, essentially immediate, payback starting immediately. And now you can actually scale that. Now you can actually, deploy that across a lot of locations economically and quickly. So that uniqueness is just great for our customers to look at that, in addition to traditional large scale projects that are harder to justify internally, frankly, for them.
Yeah. The marketer in me cannot hold myself back, but say that there's an amazing case study on this project on the Trane Autonomous Control website. So for all those listening that want to see the actual specific numerical results, it's all on there.
Absolutely.
So before we get into the last few questions that are going to summarize this podcast, any last thoughts on the Trane Autonomous Control powered by BrainBox AI product? It's exciting. It's new. Any last thoughts to share?
I think we can maybe ask the audience to imagine where we're going together. So we have a lot cooking under the hood, as they say, and there are applications that we're working on that relate to operations and maintenance of buildings, to grid interactive buildings. So I would say stay tuned, and maybe Marcus, if you want to add anything here, feel free.
Yeah, I the part that I wanted to add was in the positioning of Trane Autonomous Control. I always want to clarify that I think a lot of people's first reaction is maybe, my customer isn't asking for decarbonization, and I think that's true from what we see. That's a subset of customers. That's not the bulk of every customer who's on that journey and measuring themselves by that. And it's fun that Trane Autonomous Control can offer benefits in so many other areas that are what they're used to. It's just true utility savings. It's better utilization of the facility staff's time. And so I just find myself reminding everyone I talk to that it's decarbonization, but yes, it has benefits in more of the day-to-day values that the average or any customer cares about.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we do talk a lot about the emissions reductions and the cost reductions. We also offer, or some of the side benefits that are important to mention to your point, are the extension, for example, of the expected service life of the equipment.
Yeah.
We see some dramatic reductions in runtime when we deploy the Trane Autonomous Control solution. So things that are eye-opening, 30-40% reduction in time. So if you think of a piece of HVAC equipment like a car, it's an electromechanical system, and like a car, if it runs less miles per year, then it's expected to last longer. It's expected to have a lower maintenance cost on average. It's expected to have a higher price on the market. Similar things apply to HVAC systems. There's less wear and tear, and that's something that is important for building owners that own the assets, and then the facility managers that maintain the buildings to know is that when deploying Trane Autonomous Control, you should expect your equipment to last longer and have a better ROI on the initial investment.
And improvement in occupant comfort, I believe, as well.
Absolutely.
Not to be ignored.
No.
Comfortable spaces are important.
Yeah, and what we see is that the system will improve the adherence to the desired set point, in the space, and that's also something that obviously all the tenants want and all the occupants in the building want.
Less fluctuation.
It's great to talk about that benefit too, as compared to other energy conservation measures that have been sold to customers over the years, some of which boil down to be more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Which, yes, you may save energy with that, but that's not a simple trade-off.
It's not viable in the long run.
Complicated humans in that space that need to be happy still.
Yes. Okay, thank you for those last thoughts. So maybe if we go back and take a higher perspective here, just asking you both for your opinions on building sustainability in general. What do you think is going to be the driving force in building sustainability and building sustainability products in the coming year or two?
Yeah, I'll start. I'll keep it simple. I think generically it's this accessibility of advanced technologies into the mainstream building. A lot of times, things like heat pumps are not new to the industry, but they get better over time. They get, perhaps cheaper over time. They get, into more of the mainstream of buildings. And in that meat of the bell curve of buildings is where the overall sustainability comes from. And so whether it's heat pumps or whether it's thermal storage or, AI-based control of a building, it's never been easier to have those advanced technologies in the building.
It's a great thing.
Well said. I mean, maybe to tack on to what you said, I think it's important for everyone to know that, yes, we're talking about advanced AI-driven control, but the physical equipment that's in the building is so critical to this solution. That's, again, why Trane is uniquely positioned, in my opinion, to help the sustainability drive in the built environment, is that we need both. We need very efficient equipment, and then we need optimized controls solutions that will constantly keep the great equipment running the way it should, and minimize that waste that occurs, and unfortunately that we see way too often in the built environment. So this confluence of currents in the market bodes well for people that want to build and operate sustainable buildings.
Need all the pieces to be aligned for it to have the greatest impact.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you for your insights. Marcus, when we have special guests on the podcast, we make them do rapid fire questions at the end. Are you still willing to do it?
Oh, certainly.
Okay, perfect. So the way it works is I'll pose 3 questions. You have to answer them in 2 sentences or less.
Got it.
And that will conclude the podcast. So first one, what is your definition of a smart building? No pressure. There's lots of them out there.
Right. An amusing, perhaps cynical definition I've heard is just a building that's not broken. But I maybe more personally subscribe to a building that is better than the sum of its parts. Anyone can put a bunch of things in the building that all do what they're there to do, and that has some sort of limited, benefit performance out the other end when you can
when they're not all together, working together.
That's right.
In symbiosis.
That's right.
Awesome. Second one, what is one word you would use to describe the impact AI is having on building management? One word.
Yeah, I maybe would go with I'd go with dynamic. Just that, the impact it's having today is not the same as the impact it's going to be having in a year. It's hard to predict the impact it's going to be having in a year, and then a year from then, even in smaller increments. So,
AI is moving
really
so
dynamic.
fast. Yeah, dynamic. Love it. The third one, what is your favorite book? And I want to specify, it doesn't need to be work related, just general favorite book.
Sure. I'll go with a recent one. I think one I've mentioned to Omar even, Thinking Fast and Slow. Not the newest book, but new to me earlier this year, or last year, excuse me. Just a good illustration of how decision making really happens in the brain and how sort of unexpected influences can get in the way.
Huh.
So yeah, just
I'll add that to my list. I haven't heard of that one. So.
Great book. I concur.
Oh yeah? Read and analyzed?
Yep. Love it. Great choice.
Okay, so that concludes the rapid fire. Thank you. And it concludes the podcast. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having been here and giving us all the insights. And we hope to have you back maybe for part 2 in a year from now.
Fun.
See where we are.
That'd be fun. Thanks for
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Marcus.
Thank you, Omar.